Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video we're going to be talking about fighting with the poleaxe. I've done a number of videos where I'm fighting with this. I did a video where I discussed the construction of this. So in this video what I want to do is I want to talk about some of the things that you need to know before you start learning how to use this. Now a lot of people in learning to use this will go to these historical manuals that were written in period by what we now call masters, who are basically teachers of their time. A lot of people will go to these historical manuals and they'll start learning there. But important thing to understand is that these historical manuals, right, were written for people that already knew how to fight. Okay, so the purpose of these historical manuals was to take people that already knew how to fight with the weapon and make them better, right? So we gave them tips to make them fight better. So I think it's really hard to learn how to fight with the poleaxe by going to a manual, right? Reading a certain technique and then saying, okay, I'll try to apply it to this weapon. I mean, you might learn the technique, but it's, just because you know the technique, right, and you can do it in the drill, doesn't mean that you're going to be able to execute it in an actual combat type of situation where you've got somebody swinging at you at full power and full speed. Okay, so to me, it makes a lot more sense to basically get into armor, learn to fight with this. All right, get comfortable with just some very basic things about fighting with this. And then, look in these historical manuals, right? Pick a particular master and say, okay, let's start off with this technique. Let's drill this. And now let's try to apply that technique into my fighting the next time I'm going to practice, right? Do that for a couple of weeks or whatever, a couple of months if that's what it takes. And then down the road say, okay, let's go to the next one now. Okay, let's try to add that one now into my fighting. I think that's going to, I think that people will learn to actually apply the techniques a lot better that way, rather than just like, looking at one of these historical manuals and basically just studying each technique that's given, and just going from one to the other to the other to the other to the other, and then just like kind of drilling them. Because yeah, you're gonna learn how to drill all these different techniques, right? But then applying them to an actual combat situation where you're actually fighting somebody that's trying to beat you is a whole other story. So the first thing to know about this, this is a mass weapon. Okay, so this hits hard, and the hitting hard part is really important as far as being able to learn the techniques and apply the techniques, right? Because if you're drilling this under very controlled circumstances, and then you get into a situation where somebody's really trying to chop your head off with this, it's gonna, that technique is not going to work out so well for you. So I did cover this in a different video, but just really quickly, the way this particular weapon simulator is constructed, it's got a rattan shaft here, and then the head here is made out of hard rubber, does not compress, okay? And then on the blade edge here, what I did is I took another piece of rattan, I split it like this, and basically I put it, I kind of cut it up into little sections, and I applied it here, and also I applied it here, and I also put it here, right? So this represents the langets, right? So the reason why I wanted to put the langets here is because a lot of times when I'm hitting things, this is like, especially if I'm hitting a shield, this area here makes contact. So aside from the fact that it makes it more historical in the sense that this normally would have been a piece of steel over here, right? That would have came down. What it also does is it protects the main shaft. Okay. So this whole thing here, right, the whole weapon weighs about 4 pounds. So this weighs about 4 pounds, which is within the parameters of what this thing would have weighed historically. I think these things weigh, so the average I think was somewhere around 5 pounds, 5.5. Okay, but there's some historical examples that were 4 pounds. So this is a little bit on the light side. But there are also some historical examples that went up to like 5.9 pounds, close to 6 pounds. So they do go a little bit heavier. So so here's the thing: anytime you have a weapon that's like top heavy like this, if you swing this, it's going to hit. Okay, that's going to impact force. Okay, so if you're just using a fencing mask with something like this, you're gonna get beat up pretty good. Okay, you know, now normally with people just sometimes just wearing a fencing mask if they're trying to play with a weapon like this. They're trying to do very lightly calibrated blows, because you will completely knock somebody's head off with this if they've got just a fencing mask on. So here's the thing: it's important to actually wear the type of armor that allows you to swing this from the hips the way you're supposed to really swing this. Okay? So when I fight, just to give you an example, the helmet that I wear, okay, this weighs about 9 pounds. Okay, so there's 9 pounds of stainless steel. Okay, and if you notice over here, there's a reinforcing plate in the front over here, and the reason why I had that added is because this was getting dented. Okay, so the mass of the weapon is really important. I'm sorry, the mass of the helmet is really important, because you need something that's heavy that's going to absorb the impact. Okay, so it's you know, mass matters when it comes to a helmet, because if you don't have a heavy enough helmet, you're going to get a concussion, right? Because the fact that this is so heavy, when it hits it, you know, that's what kind of absorbs the blow a little bit, so the impact on my head isn't that much. Okay, so weight is really important when it comes to a helmet. Now, the reason why, you might say, well, why is it really necessary to hit that hard? And the answer is yes, because if you're not hitting that hard, you're not going to be able to really apply all the techniques the way that they would have been done historically. Now, let me just give you guys an example, right? So normally with this, right, if I'm swinging this thing, I'm swinging from the hips, right, and I'm driving through. Okay. So if I am fighting somebody that has a shield, right? Okay. What can happen is if I hit them, right, the half. What a lot of times will happen is the half will hit here. Okay, first of all, the axe has reach. So if they block here, I can still reach behind the shield and hit them. But even if they punch this out a little bit, there's enough mass, there's enough momentum behind this to actually impact the shield, push the shield back, and get a good head blow. So especially if you're up against a shield, you have to be able to swing it hard enough so that when you impact the shield actually pulls back. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to force the person to cheat the shield further over, right? So they're going to bring the shield further over like this. But what's happening when I bring the shield over like this, right? If I'm cheating the shield over to that side, I'm opening up on this side, right? So somebody's cheating. So what does that do? If the person's aware that I'm going to hit them hard, right, because I have a grip like this, right, and I go like this, they're gonna, in this case, right, they're gonna cheat the shield back, right, because I'm attacking from this side over here, right. So if they know that the blow, depending on how I'm holding this, right, they know if I'm going to strike them from here or if I'm going to strike them here. With the poleaxe, it's very hard to switch directions, right. So I can be here. You can see how I have to wind up a little bit, right. You know, unless I'm like in the middle here somewhere, you know, typically I'm going to be here like this, and if I'm going to go to the other side, there's going to be a little bit of a wind up. So usually the shieldsman or whoever you're fighting is aware of which side it's going to come in, and depending on how your hands are spaced apart, how far this is traveling, they have a good sense of how hard they're going to get hit. So if I'm holding this in my right side, my first blow is usually going to come here, right, on that side, which is, so what's happening is the shieldman is expecting the blow here, so they're going to basically cheat the shield out this way, all right? So they're bringing this back over here, expecting a really hard blow on this side. They're opening up over here, right? So what's going to happen is the first blow is going to be here, okay? I'm going to cock up for the second blow is going to come here, and then boom, right? I'm going to hit with the back of the axe to the side that they opened up, okay? So the purpose of the first blow is to open them up. Second blow is going to come high. It's going to come over their head, and then boom, it's going to come back, and it's going to hit them on the other side. So again, we're talking about things here that you want to know before you start reading these manuals. So the first thing that you guys learned right there is that it's a lot easier for me to if I want to attack this side here, right, it's a lot easier for me to swing short and just come back with the back edge, whatever I got here, right? This has a hammer. Sometimes it could have a spike. Sometimes you might have two axe heads, whatever it might be, right? So if I'm here, if I want to attack the other side, I'm just going to swing low and then boom, come back the other way. So it's a lot faster for me to do that, right? Come back here and then, you know, rather than go from here and then try to turn it over like that, okay? So your back cut is a very effective way to hit the other side, as opposed to like with a sword. With the sword, because this is lighter, it is a lot easier for me to go there, right? I can flip this around from one side to the other. Okay, I mean, I'm typically not going to come back with a back cut on the sword, even though it can be done. You know, to attack the other side, you know, I'm usually going to come here, flip the sword over to that side over there, right? So I can go from one side to the other side. Okay. So that's one of the things. The first thing is that you got to know that it is a lot easier to just come back with a back cut rather, you know, with the poleaxe, rather than try to roll the whole thing over. The other thing is that it's also a lot faster. Like from here, I can pull back and go to a thrust, okay? Because there's a top spike over here. I can also thrust with the points of the axe head here. There's also a butt spike over here. So from here, rather than attack the other side like this, it is faster to attack, come back, boom. Okay, so typically with the shield, right, as the guy's holding it here, if you attack hard here, they're going to cheat this over a little bit. That will open them up to a quick thrust over there. So the thrust is going to be really quick over there. So from there, attack, pull back, boom, and you can follow it up with a step. Here, step to the side, boom, you're going to get into that opening, okay? Now, other thing that you want to know, you know, again, before you start looking at historical manuals, okay, the butt spike is also going to be really quick, okay? So the butt spike is here, especially if he starts closing in on me, you're going to come back with this arm here, and then boom, okay? Okay, so again, using the butt spike is going to be a lot faster than rolling this over to the other side, okay? Right? So now, especially if you have a shieldman, okay, they're going to try and close in on you, because if they stay at range, basically you have a situation now, right, where, you know, they got a shorter sword, they're able to, you know, basically you can hit them, but they can't hit you. So the shieldman in particular, or anybody that has a shorter weapon than you, is going to want to close in on you, okay? So you take that first shot. If they block it, a quick follow-up is your butt spike, right? Here is to thrust them there, okay? So that's the other thing to be aware of. So as far as speed, right, you can see that going from here to there, that's going to be your slowest shot, okay? Now, you still want to have the ability to do that. So that's going to be really important in determining how long your shaft is and how heavy the head of your axe is going to be, right? Because, for example, if I kept the same weight, you know, the same head over here with the same weight, and I made this a foot longer, right? Now, all of a sudden, it would be really hard for me to hold this at the end over here, right? And be able to go from there to there to there, because I can back, even if he's closing in, I can still backpedal and I can take shots, you know, and move around, right? So I have that ability. So I wanna pick the length and the head weight that will maintain that option, right? This may not always be the best thing to do, but I want to maintain that option to be able to hold my hands here together and take advantage of the full length of my pole weapon, right? Whatever it is, right? This one's about 6 foot tall. You know, if you got one that's you know, that's longer or shorter, you want to have the ability to take to take advantage of the full length of it. Okay. Now, when I first started using this, I had a tendency to hold it here in the middle, right? Which is something that you will see a lot of people sometimes start off with. The problem with this is I'm giving up that length, okay? So what would happen is a lot of times I'd be facing off against somebody, and I've got this grip over here, right? So the reason why would I take this grip over here? Well, this gives me the equal ability to do this or do that, right? So I have equal reach, right? If you think about it, from this position here, I got equal reach there, right? If I'm holding it here, I've got reach there, okay? But here, I have less reach, right? So I have to change my hands in order to get that reach, okay? So this grip here is set up so I can use either end of this without having to move my hands too much, okay? But the problem with that is, if I'm entering the fight and I'm here, right, and great, I got the ability to attack with this end, or have the ability to attack with that end. If somebody's holding it here, as I'm closing in, they're going to take a free shot at me, okay, before I even have the chance to hit them, okay? So by starting off the fight here, I found that I was just giving up the first shot, okay? The other person was, somebody that had a grip here, was always going to be able to take the first shot. Now, the reason why I liked taking this shot here is because one of the advantages that I found that I had early on is I wanted to get the first block and get into a grappling type of situation where I could take advantage of my strength, okay, and be able to grapple my way in and fight with the poleaxe. And that's going to get you so far if you're a strong person, but you want to develop beyond just the grappling. Now, I play with this one because well, first of all, let's talk real quick about different places where you can play with this, right? You can play with this in different HEMA schools. Again, what I find is that the armor that they're usually using is a bit on the light side for really hitting with these things, or the weapons that they're using are kind of like bendy weapons, right? Where they have so much give that, again, they're like almost like whipping around. So it's hard to use this the way that it was intended to be used, okay? I've played around with the SCA, right? For many years, in fact. In the SCA, the great thing about that is they've kind of figured the safety stuff out. You go there, they've already got minimal standards set up for armor, for gauntlets, for, to keep you safe, so that you can fight with a weapon like this, hit hard, and expect not to get your fingers broken, okay? Now, I also play with another group called the Empire of Medieval Pursuits. The great thing about them is that they have full body targeting, right? Because in the SCA, you can't hit below the knee. EMP, right, Empire of Medieval Pursuits, they've got full body targeting and full grappling, okay? Which is really great because it allows you to, really experiment with this thing in an almost, in an unrestricted environment, really. It's completely unrestricted. Now, I'm going to say this as far as grappling with this, right? If you get in close, right, remember, a lot of times people focus on the throws, right? Because if you look at like Fiori and talhoffer in the medieval manuscripts, they focus a lot on throws. They have a couple, they do have a couple of face thrusts, but the throws seem to be a really big thing. And part of the thing was like, why would they focus so much on the throws? And what I kind of conclude is that in a lot of these cases, the people are completely unarmored, right? They're not wearing any armor. Now, if I'm going to be fighting somebody that's completely unarmored, I'm basically going to use this as a long rapier, right? Why even bother, getting close to them, right? You got reach, use your reach. But if you're going to practice with somebody, right? If you're going to practice with your buddy, with a poleaxe, right, with a real weapon, right, pointy here, sharp here, pointy there, right? You're going to practice with your buddy. You really don't want to hurt him. So what are you kind of limited to, right? You're limited to kind of throws. Like, how do you determine a winner in your game? Well, first guy to hit the ground loses, okay? So to me, that kind of makes sense why you know, they would focus so much on throwing people if you're practicing with the poleaxe, because unless you're actually planning to kill them, okay, you know, getting them in a situation where you're throwing them, right, is a good way to determine who is successful, okay. So that's why that's the reason why I have concluded, me personally, why I think that the throws with this weapon were so popular, right? Because if we were practicing without armor, that's kind of what we would be limited to. I can't just take this and just hit you on the side of the head with this if you don't have any armor on, right? Because you're going to kill you. In fact, I'm going to say this. Even though this is a weapon simulator, right? This is solid rubber here. If I had to duel somebody, right? And basically one of us was going to have a sharp sword and the other guy was going to use this weapon simulator, okay? I would rather have this, okay, because this will do a lot more damage to an unarmored person at range, okay? So if somebody's got a shorter sword, even though it's sharp, they still got to get close to me. You know, this is still, you know, even if you hit somebody with the wood over here, right, you're hitting them with a club, okay, which will crush their head. And again, I've got a wooden reinforcement here. I'll show you guys what that looks like. I took the you know, piece of rattan here, I split that and I put this on the edge. The reason why I did this is because, remember, normally when we fight, we're using these 9-pound helmets, and again, to some extent, we're sort of overprotected. So what we refer to this as a clacker, right? Because when this hits the steel, this makes a sound that the person inside the helmet can very clearly hear. Okay, so one of the things that I found is when I was just using this with the rubber head, even though it was solid, a lot of times people weren't sure if they got hit. You know, a lot of times, even though their head got jolted a little bit, you know, because remember, especially if you get into a wrestling type of situation, right? If you get into a wrestling type of situation where you're in close, and I've got this over here, and I do something like this, okay? You know, they may not realize if I hit them, or maybe you know, a part of my arm hit them or something. So having the wood over here on the edge, when it hits the steel helmet, makes a very distinct sound that people are able to recognize and know they've been hit, okay? And it wasn't just like some incidental, you know, my arm or something hitting them, okay? So as I was saying, if I was going to duel somebody, right, and I had a choice of using this or using the sharp sword, right, I would use this, because against an unarmored opponent, even this training weapon here can do some serious damage, okay? Actually, let me take a short break, and I'll be right back. Okay, I want to talk a little bit now, because we talked about fighting somebody with a shield, and I explained how, like, especially if you're fighting a shield man, you know, a lot of times people focus on attacking around the shield. I want to hit that shield hard enough to actually move it, okay? But the same applies if I'm fighting another person with another polearm over here, right? I want to hit them hard enough that I actually move this out of the way and I can thrust through, okay? And that's like one of the first, I think, Lichtenauer techniques, okay? So if anything, right, if you're going to start working with the manuals, this is the very first thing I would advise that you start working on, right? You know, lining up with somebody over here, right? And here's the thing, if you're standing right in front of somebody over here, like, you can't hit them, they can't hit you, right? Because, you know, basically, fighting with a polearm is really about controlling the center, okay? This is the center over here, right? Both of us are defended, right? But if I take a small step over here, I can hit them. My weapon is protecting them from hitting me, okay? So that's a very basic technique that's found in historical manuals that I would recommend that you perfect before you think about adding more techniques, right? And that's, you know, that's enough. That right there is enough for you to actually win lots of fight withs, right? You know, either by stepping to the side, right, or hitting this and then thrusting through. That's the other thing, right? Hit that to the side and then thrust through. That's also another very basic technique that, you know, I would say like almost perfect that, and then start going through these historical manuals of whatever master you're interested in working with, and work with them, right? And I'm sorry, and start adding additional techniques. But all this stuff is gonna work itself. Is gonna be a lot easier for you to learn, and it's gonna make a lot more sense if you're actually able to hit, right? If you're actually able to hit somebody's polearm. Now, one of the things I have found with the poleaxe, I can actually, instead of just hitting with the shaft, right, like I would with a spear, I can also use the head, right? I can also push with the head over there and then follow up with a thrust, right? So that's something that I have found to be really useful with the poleaxe. I can also use the top of this to push somebody's weapon aside. The other thing is when I'm thrusting at somebody, instead of just targeting with this, I generally target this area over here, right? This is the area that I target, and I'm trying to get him like this because, especially with the big helmets, right? Either this is going to hit, or if they try to move to the side, this is going to hit. You know, so to me, it's like the great thing about the poleaxe is you have a very big thrusting area. Anything from here to here is going to catch something over here, and it's gonna thrust. You know, you're gonna get that thrust. Okay, so that's one of the things that I love about the poleaxe. Okay? Let's also talk about hooking really quickly. Again, that seems to be like a very basic thing that all the historical manuals really focus on, especially like hooking behind the knee and pulling. One of the things I have found to be especially useful is hooking the other person's weapon to pull it down and then thrust through. Right? So that's one of the ways that I have found, you know, I have found the bottom of the axe, right, very useful. I have found it very useful for hooking other people's weapons. In fighting against another poleaxe, a lot of times the two heads will get caught on each other, and what I'll do is I'll pull them in and then thrust back out. So again, a very basic technique, something that you can work with on the poleaxe. Okay? Now, what I want to talk about now, which I think is really important, is the gauntlets. Okay, the gauntlets that I've been using for most of the time I've been fighting are these plastic ones, these plastic Kydex ones here from I think Egg Armory. Okay, now I think they do sell them sometimes to other armorers who also sell them, but this is a very basic, simple design that works. The great thing about these is they're light and they give you good hand protection. They curve around the fingers over here. So the test is, as you hold the polearm like this, you want to take a club and lightly tap yourself. You should be able to take a decent hit, okay, without a whole lot of pain, right? And you don't have to slam yourself hard because you don't want to be taking hits directly on your hands anyway, but you should be able to take a decent hit anywhere over here. I definitely advise not using finger gauntlets, okay, because you're gonna get your fingers broken if you do this long enough. Okay, you want the plastic basically to wrap all the way around. So if it gets hit here, you know, basically the plastic is going to make contact with the wood, you know, so it's not able to crush your fingers. And same thing with the thumb. You want a thumb that is basically wraps all the way around. Now, I'm going to show you another set of gauntlets that I have. So I've got these really cool gauntlets here that I got from Arm Street a few years back. Okay, now they did come with these really nice padded gloves. The gloves that are inside the other ones are street hockey gloves. Okay, you can get them online. They're like $35. So those gauntlets are like $150 to $200. So the plastic gauntlet itself is like is $150 to $200, and then the padded glove on the inside is from who's this guy? Here you go, meyer. Make sure you guys can see that. Here, that's the street hockey glove that I use on the inside, and you want to get it like, don't get it tight, because remember, a lot of times when you're trying to put this on, your hands are sweaty, they're sticky, so you want to be able to get these on. So you get the large gloves, unless you got really tiny hands. So let's talk about this versus this. Okay, so the nice thing about the plastic ones, they're lighter. Okay, so on the head we said we wanted weight because we're trying to protect our brain. On the hands, you can get away with the plastic. Okay, if you're gonna get the steel ones, right, make sure that it has an enclosed thumb. Okay, see how that's enclosed, right? The thumb that came with this gauntlet over here was not enclosed. This is actually an aftermarket that I was able to get and put on it. So you want it to be an enclosed thumb that's going to completely protect it. Okay. That's going to so if this gets hit here, you're protected. Again, you see how it comes all the way around and it makes contact with the wood. Okay. For the most part, most of the times when I fight with the plastic ones. If there's something going on that to show something and I need to look really good, that's when I'll bring these out. Not so much because I'm trying to like preserve them or keep them new or anything. More because these are just more comfortable to actually fight with. For one thing, like if you see over here, you see how I've duct taped these gloves in there, right? Right. See how I've duct taped? Well, here's the thing with this one over here, right? You see how that's got the leather straps over there? Well, these leather straps, when you hold this here like this, they actually add to the thickness. All right, so gripping this with the duct tape is a lot more comfortable than gripping this with the leather straps. Now, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll actually they'll drill holes over here and they'll sew the glove into the gauntlet, which is great, but it's time consuming. And the problem with sewing it in is that eventually it's going to rip. Okay, and sometimes the stitching rips, but sometimes what happens is instead of the stitches ripping, the glove actually rips. Okay, so I pretty much decided to avoid that by not stitching it in, by using the leather straps. So that's so anyway, like I said, me personally, I prefer fighting with these plastic ones. They work great. These obviously look better. They're more expensive. Now these, when I got these were like $250. With the price of everything going up, I mean, most of these days when you get gauntlets, they're going to be like, if you're getting like stainless steel ones like these, you're looking at close to $1,000, right? So $150, with the glove, $200 versus like close to $1,000. So this will get you a good, this will get you a lot of mileage. Okay, so this is a good place to start. So the original, if you look up gauntlets, Egg Armory, you'll see these, but you might also see them at different, because they also sell them to other armorers who then sell them. But that's what these are normally referenced by, Egg Armory gauntlets, right? And actually, you can even see over here. You see the little holes over here that they have. That's for stitching them in, which I didn't do. Yeah. Now the other thing I'm going to say is, with these plastic ones, this is also what I use when I fight with the longsword, right? Because they're very flexible. I can turn the sword over, come down, right? I can actually do like Shido How, right? I can do Shield House. I can turn this over like that. Right? So these offer a good deal of flexibility. Okay. Okay. As far as like the only thing that you can't do great with this is if you're gonna bring the thumb out like that for like a Zwerchhau. I just cheat that. I don't do it. I just keep my thumb as it is. The idea with the thumb out is to give you more reinforcement. I just don't need it. I'm strong enough that I'm perfectly okay with just keeping my thumbs over there and work down to either side like that. So that's just not an issue for me. Okay, so there's some things for you guys to think about if you want to start fighting with poleaxe. This is a whole bunch of fun. You know, and like I said, I started off in HEMA, you know, and I added other stuff like SCA and Empire Medieval Pursuits, especially with the pole weapons. I think that you're going to be able to do a lot more fighting in SCA, Empire Medieval Pursuits, just because they're already set up to fight with polearms. Okay, when you go there, there'll already be other people already fighting with polearms. Whereas a lot of times with the different HEMA groups, that's kind of like a little add-on thing. Like they mostly focus, let's say, on sword and buckler, or they focus on longsword, or maybe some of the rapiers or backswords. Not too many HEMA groups actually focus on fighting with polearms. So that's why like groups like the SCA, EMP, they're great places for you to go and fight with this, and they've already worked out all the safety issues like with armoring and so forth. So, other quick thing I wanted to mention with the poleaxe, right? If you get into a grappling type of situation, right, and this gets knocked out of your hands, right? Because one of the things that I try to do is I want to hit somebody hard enough that, you know, that I actually knock it out of their hands, right? Especially if you're coming in on this side, because if you're going this way, you're knocking it into my hand, right? But if you come in from the other side, so that sometimes makes it, you know, let loose. So what happens a lot of times, you know, as you're fighting, you can lose your grip on this. Now, one of the things I have done to make it easier for me to not lose my grip is, first of all, the gauntlets are as thin as possible with the tape over there, right? And what I do is I actually rope the tape. I actually, the duct tape, I actually rope it to make it a little bit stronger. But what I also do is I shave down the haft. All right, let's give you guys a look at the haft. You see how I have it shaved down? That gives me a sense of edge alignment, right? So I almost never hit flat, right? I always know where my edge is, even if I'm coming around this way. I always know where my edge is, just because I can feel it. You know, I can feel it in my hands, right? I can tell where the edge is. But the other thing I want to say is, if you do lose your grip with this, right? So let's say you're fighting somebody, right? And this gets knocked out of your hand, or maybe this thing gets dropped completely, right? A lot of people will say, well, you're going to go to your backup dagger, okay? Why go to the backup dagger? You've got a weapon already here in your face, in your hands. You can punch somebody, right? Because typically we're fighting with an open face helmet, right? So even though this has a bar grill here, right? This bar grill that you see here is basically for my personal protection, okay? This is assumed to be an open face helmet, okay? So a gauntlet punch to the face would normally kill somebody. Now in EMP, you gotta basically, because over there we do 3 counted blows. So I have to punch somebody in the face 3 times, right, on the grill in order to get the kill, right? Because basically you gotta get 3 hits. If it's a thrust, a thrust to the face is usually considered substantial, so that's an immediate kill. But the point is, if I drop the poleaxe for whatever reason, rather than trying to go to a backup dagger, you've got a weapon in your hand already. Basically, just punch them straight in the face. In a real combat type of situation with an open face helmet, that would probably kill somebody, right? Or at least knock them out, like way out. So that's the other thing to consider with the polearm. You know, this is your backup weapon right here. A punch to the open face will usually end the fight. So a bunch of things for you guys to think about. Let me know if you got any questions. Put them in the comments below, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, so think of this as kind of a summary for people that want to just pick up a poleaxe and go fight, okay? So first of all, always practice with your gauntlets on, because you're always going to be fighting with gauntlets, so that you don't get your fingers broken, right? So you might as well get used to being in gauntlets. So set up something like this, a pal, something that you can hit, you know, something like this that I can change the angles in different positions that you can simulate striking against. Now, one of the things I'm going to focus in great detail in the second part of this video is you know, when you look through the historical manuals, there's a lot of stuff there, right? There's a lot of stuff there. But one of the things I'm going to recommend is start off with some very simple, basic techniques, right? That actually, even in the longsword manuals, that most people want. Most people are going to be more familiar with the longsword manuals just because of more detail. The stuff from the longsword manual, a lot of it's going to apply to fighting with the poleaxe. So the most basic, simple things that is going to, like if you're fighting with the poleaxe, of all the fights you're going to win, like 80% of your fights is going to be with these basic things I'm going to show you right now. So first thing, like when you come into measure, you want to basically strike, you know, hit the other weapon to the side and thrust through. Okay, so that's very basic longsword stuff. Come in, strike the other weapon to the side, thrust through. The other thing you can do is come in, strike, and thrust. The basic idea here is that it has to be impossible for the other person to hit you, right? You need to attack in such a way that my weapon is between their weapon and my body. So regardless if they strike through or thrust through, it's impossible for them to hit me. What you don't want to do is basically, as they're striking at your head, you're striking at your leg, resulting in a double kill. You wouldn't do that in a real fight with a real weapon. Now, these things do hit very hard, and they can be a little bit painful to get hit with. So that actually helps people learn faster, because you're going to be less prone to doing stupid things with this when you know that getting hit is going to hurt. Okay, so the other thing you want to be aware of is there's this thing of leverage. So if I, you know, the tip is faster, this part here is stronger. If I can place my haft near their tip, I have more leverage to push them to the side and thrust through. So practice playing with the different parts of your shaft to gain leverage, so that you can push their weapon out of the way and thrust through that. Okay, so there's 3 very simple things there. Before you look at the historical manuals and look at all the dozens of techniques that each master has, I would say just master these 3 things, right? Because even after, in my opinion, even after you've learned every single technique and every single historical manual to date on the poleaxe, right? In most cases, you're going to come back to these 3 very basic killing techniques, right? Where you're either striking to the side, thrusting through, you know, stepping to the side, making your cut while you're blocking. The butt spike is also, here's another thing that's going to be important for you guys to know. As I stand here like this, right, my head is very easily protected, right? The place that I'm open is on this side here, because if somebody tries to attack me here, it's really easy for me to block to this side. Now, with the poleaxe, right, or with a mass weapon, if somebody strikes me really hard on this side, it is possible for them to hit my weapon so hard that it actually moves it to the side. So that's why when I block, I'll usually block like this, right? So that I'm essentially cutting into their strike, right? So I'm blocking into their strike. So even if they hit me really hard, I have a comfortable margin of error. So if I'm holding this in my right hand, it's a lot easier for me to block to this side than this side, because here, right, pay attention to this area here. I can bring this over so that my head is blocked, but there's an opening right over here where, you know, that another experienced polearms man is going to attack, right? So here I can basically, you see how far over I can bring my axe head, and they can still hit me on the shoulder over here. Okay, so if you're right-handed, this is your opening over here. The block is here, right? So if I'm right-handed and I get a sense that somebody's going to attack me on that side, my block is here. The whole thing has to come over here in order for me to block. Now, usually I have a very good sense of which direction they're going to be attacking in, because the weapon is longer, there's a bit of a wind-up involved from going from one side. So if they're holding the axe in their right hand, they're probably going to attack me somewhere on the right side. To go to the other side, there's this, there's a bit of a wind up, right? So I can usually see that coming, which gives me plenty of time to bring my shaft all the way over, and in fact turn all the way over like this, right? So that's one of the things to be aware of. If you're holding it right-handed, your opening is here. If I have it in my left hand, if I'm a left-handed fighter, then the opposite is true. My opening is here, because I can easily block to this side. Here, I have to really turn my body like that, okay? So again, this is one of those things that you have to be aware of if you're fighting with the polearm, with a poleaxe or glaive or any other polearm, a Dane axe, great axe, any type of a staff weapon, a partisan. Okay, as you hold it, if I have this in my right hand here, this is my weakness. I have to bring this way over. Now, as I'm holding it, if I'm holding it like this, I have a reach. This gives me reach. I can attack here. Now from here, I can also, the cut's going to be fast. A follow-up thrust is going to be fast, okay? Coming to that side is slower. And also, if they beat down my weapon and get my arms crossed like this, I'm in a really bad position, okay? So usually what I'm going to do is, if I'm going to attack the other side, right? Like I'll go as far as here, right? This is usually as far as I'll go. Because normally I'm attacking here, right? I'm pretty comfortable attacking all the way up to here. I really don't want to get any further, because if they press me down, I'm really screwed, okay? So if I want to attack on this side, what I will do is I'll come over and I'll back cut, okay? So if I want to attack this side, it's a lot safer for me to do that rather than to do that with my arms crossed, okay? So what I can do is if this is where their weapon is, I can blast through here, right, push that to the side, and then come back and strike the head, okay? So that is a good way for me to attack the other side of the body rather than cross the arms over, okay? So that's one of the things you want to be aware of with the poleaxe. Now, as far as the butt spike, okay, that's also, if I'm here, right, if I'm here, what I'll do is I'll slide my hands up and then thrust here. Now, the thing to be aware of is, if I'm here and I do this, now the open, because now I'm covered on this side, the opening is here, okay? So, whereas here, my defense is strong on this side, weak on this side. When I turn this over like this, now my defense is strong on this side, weak on this side. So you gotta know, depending on how you're holding this, where your defense is stronger and where it's weaker, right? So if I'm here and I come up with a butt spike, okay, if I miss it, I gotta know that my arm, this side of my body is open over here, and basically I gotta be ready to block that, because as soon as they see the butt spike coming, they're an experienced fighters are gonna be like, block, and then immediately attack the side. So as soon as they see the butt spike come up, okay, if they see it and are able to block it, they know that the opening is gonna be here. If they see you like this, they know that the opening is here, okay? So those are some very basic things to be aware of as far as fighting with the poleaxe. So now we're going to add one more additional thing to the video that I did yesterday with regards to fighting with the poleaxe. Okay, now I realize that it's a lot of information. In many cases, I'm kind of going back and forth. If this is something that you're interested in, you're probably going to have to watch this video a couple of times to really absorb some of the information. And some of the information you may just not be able to get, in which case you can just let me know in the comments, and I'll do another video expanding further upon it. So one of the things that I mentioned is fighting a shieldman, right? So let me get a shield out. So if you're fighting a shieldman, right, let's say that he's right-handed, the shield's on this side, okay? So the opening is here, okay? So the question becomes, with the poleaxe, which side do you want to hold your poleaxe? Do you want to have more easy access to this side, or do you want to be able to attack on this side? Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. So, and if we look on the Bayeux tapestry, we see people with Dane axes, right, or great axes, holding. A lot of them are actually holding it with the left hand leading. Okay, so it's presumably so that they can attack the opening here on right-handed shieldmen. Okay, so it's completely legitimate. Now, I have spent some time working with it, and if I'm holding it in my left hand, and if I'm attacking, you know, as a you know, now fighting lefty, if I'm attacking the right side opening over here, I do find that I do get lots of hits, but the problem, you know, there's a problem that occurs when the shieldman eventually, right, if I don't kill him, eventually he's going to close in on me. So the shieldsman's job, right, what he's trying to do is he's trying to use his shield to basically press on my polearm so I can't swing it, right? So if he can press on my polearm so I can't get a good swing out of this, well, now his other hand is free to attack me here, you know, down by the legs. So that's what the shieldman's trying to do. He's trying to press this, press my axe. So what happens is when the shieldman closes in on me, right, because I don't want that to happen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the axe to the side here, right? And what's happening is I'm now blocking on this side. I can block my head up here. So I do have good defense. The problem is offense, okay? I have very poor offense because in order for me to attack, I basically have to turn the axe. Basically, that's the best that I can kind of do. And I'm basically, I'm not getting a whole lot of swing out of this. I mean, I can still get hits, but it's just not that easy. One of the things I can try to do is I can try to use the shaft to hook the bottom here to hook the shield open and strike. But again, while I am basically fighting his shield, his other arm is still free to attack me. Okay, so what I found is that if I'm fighting a right-handed shieldman, I want to lead with my right hand. So initially, as the shieldman's coming in, I'm chopping at his head, chopping at his legs. Eventually, if I don't kill him, he's going to close in on me. So now I'm bringing the pole to the side here. This is blocking, you know, my entire left side, and I can bring the axe back and forth over here to block my head over here. He's not going to be able to access this area here because his shield is there, right? Because he can't cut through his shield. So his shield is protecting this part of my body. So by leading with the right hand, right, what I find that this allows me to do really easy, comfortable, you know, back edge strikes along the top, okay, or I can just do a back cut. You know, I'm able to actually launch some really powerful back cuts that hit the shield, move it over, and still have enough force to strike the person with a significant blow, with a significant force, where it's a good shot. Okay, so I have a really powerful back cut. I have this over the top cut that I'm able to do. And the other thing I'm able to do from this side is, you know, I can also, if I make a back cut, if I don't get a good hit, I'm also able to foul up his weapon, right? Because he's got a sword. Now the thing with the sword is a weapon of speed, right? In order for the sword to be able to hit with any force, you know, it's got to be, you know, you got to accelerate it, right? So if I can get the axe, you know, my axe head behind his shield, like just basically anywhere here over his shoulder area, right? It's really hard for him to strike at my head. If he goes to the leg again, I can lower this, so it's, you know, so I can really foul up his sword arm just by bringing this back over his shield. He's pressing on me over here with his shield, right? So his shield's on my body. He's trying to push me back, but the shield's not going to hurt me, right? You know, especially if I have armor on, the shield's not going to hurt me. Meanwhile, I'm using the axe head here to foul up his weapon and also take strikes at his head. I can also thrust at him. So I have found that it's a lot more, I fight a lot better against shieldmen, right? If I have a right-handed shieldman, I want to basically lead with my right hand. I have a solid defense over here. I can make back cuts, come over the top, foul the weapon, thrust. If I'm fighting a lefty, right, a left-handed shieldman, I'm going to switch. So I'm leading with my left hand now. So everything is going to be the same, right? I'm going to have solid defense over here because the lefty is going to be attacking on this side. Okay, I'm able to make my back cuts, come over the top, reach behind, follow up his sword so he can initiate an attack, and then also, do a back cut and also thrust. Okay, so those are my thoughts on fighting a shieldman with a poleaxe. Now, there's a lot of information I've dumped in this video. If you're interested in this, you're probably gonna have to watch it a couple of times. Some of the stuff may not be clear. You can ask me in the comment section. I can do other videos that kind of focus on that kind of breaks it up and focuses on little bits. And in this video, I didn't talk too much about what the historical manuals say, because I feel that this is kind of information that you need to know in advance, right? You need to know this in advance before you can really start looking at these historical manuals, right? So for example, with the shield situation, as you're reading through the historical manuals, now you have a good understanding of how, let's say, the poleaxe versus the shield is going to match up, okay? Or how the poleaxe is going to match up, let's say, against another polearm, where I discussed that, hey, if I'm holding this right-handed, I have really solid defense on this side. This is my opening over here, right? So that's an important thing to know. You have to know this before you start looking at manuals. You have to know about the opening here. Now, if I go to the butt spike, okay, now I have a solid defense on this side. The opening is now on this side up here. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Drop some comments below. I'll talk to you all soon.